Voila.
All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and start it up. Sorry we're a little late, everyone, but thrilled to be here. My name is Jamie, and I'm the Marketing and Events Coordinator here at Copperfield's Books, and I'll also be your host for the evening. Copperfield's Books has been committed to literature, education, and creating community together since our founding in 1981. We're thrilled to be offering online events during these times to keep us connected while we're forced to be separated. Thanks for joining us in our new online adventure. A couple of house cleaning items before I introduce tonight's author. We will be utilizing the chat box to provide links to view upcoming Copperfield's events, links for purchasing Tom's latest book and audiobook, as well as previous titles by Tom, and we'll also include my contact details for post-event questions and information. Additionally, the Q&A box will be your go-to tonight with any questions or comments for the author. The format for the event will feature 30 to 45 minutes of speaking, and then will be followed by a live Q&A. We will try to get to as many of your questions as we can, as your feedback is always appreciated. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see an icon that says Q&A. Please submit your questions here rather than replying to my post in the chat box, as this will be more convenient. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce our speaker for the evening, Tom Papa. Tom is a comedian known for his work in film, television, and radio, as well as on the live stage. He is a frequent panelist on NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, a writer and performer on the public radio variety show Live From Here, the host of a daily Sirius XM show, What a Joke with Papa and Fortune, and has recorded 4 stand-up specials that are currently streaming. Tom is a regular guest on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Conan, and The Late Show with Dave.
Jamie froze. Jamie froze. Can you guys hear me? Is anybody there? Yes, you can. Oh, well, hello. I'm worried about Jamie. Are you guys worried? Nice to see you all. Hi, Christine. Hey, Margot. Very worried. I know. She will be forever young. I know. She looks great. It actually, anytime it freezes during these things, I always end up with like a horrible thing. I like how we're all part of the AV club now and everybody's just trying to figure stuff out. Well, hello, everybody. Nice to see you. I can't really see your faces, but I can see your comments over there. So it's a little kind of like Facebook Live. When I do book events, I like to use my pipe. I don't have tobacco or anything really in here, but it feels, someone gave it to me as a gift once, so I just keep it in my thing, and it feels like these events kind of call for it. Can you heckle me? Yeah, sure, why not? But I can only see that part. I guess you guys don't have your cameras on. I guess that's what's happening. So we'll just, I really hope she comes back. How you doing? Where is everybody? Where are you? Where are you? We all need haircuts, I know. I decided, you know, I don't really need a haircut, but I figure like if it keeps going, it's gonna be like a Benjamin Franklin kind of a look. Sacramento, Santa Rosa, Judy, Nevada. Oh, I think Jamie might be coming back to Boron. Where's that? Oh, look who it is. Well, look who showed up.
I am so sorry. My computer just completely crashed. I'm so sorry, everyone, but without further ado.
Everybody was very worried about you. We almost started a search party, and then we realized we're not allowed to leave our homes.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to go on mute and turn my video off and take it from here.
No, stay with me. You can stay. Keep it on. I'm just finding out where everybody is. Rohnert Park. That's where you are, right?
I'm in Healdsburg.
Oh, Healdsburg.
But that's
Fulton.
where James is.
Oh, very cool. This is good. So if people, they can order books and drive by your place.
Yes, they can.
Oh, that's good. That's
They
good.
can do it
I
from
was
the car.
I was explaining that I use my pipe during book events,
Oh, it looks so
and then I
sweet.
read my book.
Yes, that's what we've been waiting for.
Yes. Well, it's nice to see everybody. I live with two teenage girls and my wife, so I don't. I'm not allowed to smoke in the house, which is probably a good thing. I probably would be smoky and disgusting if I didn't live with them. So I just use it as a prop.
Well, it looks nice.
Thank you. Somebody keeps talking about a drunken band meeting.
Yeah.
Evidently, Zoom remembers the previous moniker. It's offensive to anyone. I humbly apologize. Oh boy, that sounds weird. That sounds like a road we don't want to go down.
No,
Well,
I'm gonna turn off the chat for them, and we'll keep it to the Q&A.
yeah. So I wrote this book, You're Doing Great and Other Reasons to Stay Alive. And I had no idea how relevant it was going to be at this time. It was called You're Doing Great because when I was on tour, cruising around doing stand-up, I started telling people that they're doing great because it felt like people were living with this anxiety and they weren't feeling like they were ever doing enough. Like there was always, they're working hard, they're doing stuff with their families, and it just felt like they weren't getting far enough in life. And I started to realize it was the perception of their life. It was social media and all these things kind of thrown on them, and they had these expectations of what this life is supposed to be, and they weren't, of course, able to achieve them. And I started saying from the stage, you're doing great. If you're at a comedy show, you're hanging out with your friends, I don't care what's going on in your life, you're doing great. And people started coming up to me after the show and saying, thank you, like sincerely, thank you for saying that, because I have been feeling it. So it just started to kind of build momentum as I cruised around and did shows. And You're Doing Great became like the theme. And then off of the stand-up, as I was working on my book, I was like, I really want to carry that same message in the book. So I added And Other Reasons to Stay Alive. And it's really a book about all of the simple things, the little things in life that are really, really important. And I don't want to be cynical about it. It's very optimistic. It's very hopeful. But it's telling people, just lower your expectations, lower the bar of what you think you need in a life, and you'll realize that you are doing pretty great. If you have a cup of coffee in the morning and you look across and there's someone that you like on the other side of the kitchen, that's it. Doesn't get more than that. And all the rest of it is just running around. So anyway, I write the book, I do the tour, I come up with the stand-up special, and then all of this happens. We all get put into our homes, and you have this scary thing, and everybody's worried. Like, first of all, if you're going to be alive, or your friends and family's going to be okay, what's going to happen with our money and all of this stuff. And I was like, I wonder how the book is going to hold up. I wonder if it's going to change it. And the only way I could find that out is to read it. So luckily enough, I had to do the audiobook, like in the second week of the pandemic. I had to go in Los Angeles to a secret location, driving secretly in my car, underground, two people in the whole place with a mask. And I had to read the book and go through. Some things really, the general thing is that it really held up, that You're Doing Great is the total perspective. It's still filled with optimism and hope, and taking joy in the little things despite whatever trouble we're dealing with. We just all happen now to be dealing with the same trouble. So that part was great. That part held up. The odd part was there are certain moments in the book that pop up that I had forgotten about as I was writing it. There is one part when I talk about traveling, because I travel a lot, I'm always on tour, and I talk about all the people coughing on the plane. I'm like, what are these doctors working on? I know there's some big diseases, cancer and things like that, but could they please just focus on this coughing epidemic? Everywhere I go, people are coughing. I didn't know that was coming. Then I had this whole section on cruise ships, and I talk about how awful cruise ships are, and that they're just germ-infested things filled, they're ruining the planet. They're like giant white toilets, just ruining the planet, and nobody should be on them. And I did this whole run on just how awful they are. Then, excuse me, I have this one section called, hold on, let me tell you exactly what it is. I have it right here. I might as well give it to you, right? It is called, bum, 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 bum. Very funny nose, no. It takes two, no. You're rich, no. Massages are for sissies. Oh no, stay inside where you're safe. Stay inside where you're safe. It's all about how the animal kingdom is trying to kill us. And it comes from personal stuff about whenever I'm out in nature, I'm always being attacked by animals, which I am. Squirrels and birds and things always seem to be coming for me. But then at the end is a whole little section about germs, which I don't know why I went off on it. Should I read it? That might be good. Let's see if I can find it. Stay inside where you're safe, page 109. It's such a cool thing to actually, this is my second book that I've written. And I have to say, it's so exciting after the work and you're like looking at it at such a close distance away. And then you get like a whole book filled with these pages. I can't believe that I did all that. You write things for like television and things like that, and they never get made. It's the one good thing about a book, you know it's going to get made. Okay, so I'm talking all about birds coming for me and crows and squirrels throwing nuts at me and rats and stuff like that. And then at the end I say, so we are just visitors. The animal kingdom ain't no joke. And what about germs? Are we counting germs? Those microscopic beings who are quietly getting stronger and fighting off all the antibiotics we can come up with? Flu bugs, allergy bugs, they're everywhere. And all the antiseptic hand washes and antibacterial lotions are just pushing them to the side for the moment. They float in the air, dance on handrails, and fly right up your nose. I wouldn't have written that today. As far as I'm concerned, the animals win. I give up, and you should too. So let's make a deal. If they want the outdoors, animals, they can have it. We'll stay inside the air-conditioned safety of a restaurant and watch them through the window, as long as they agree to stay out there. But I don't trust they will. So all these little moments just really popped up. So it's very frightening. But overall, it gives you an optimistic diversion, I think, is the coolest part. And the relief that people have from watching the special and the people that got the advanced copies of the book, you do this stuff because of your own ego and you want to perform and you want to write and you want to do those things. But then when you hear people say genuinely, thank you, it made me feel better, especially in these times, that kind of thing. That's not the whole reason that I got into it, but it was a little bit of the reason. So it's nice. It's nice to hear. Jamie, how are you? You still frozen?
No, I just muted myself because I was laughing and I didn't want to overtake.
Yeah, that's what a comedian doesn't want his laughs muted.
No, okay.
You can always laugh.
Okay, good. Just feel the glory.
So do you have my book in your shop?
I do. I got the ARC, the advanced reader, and got my hands all in it. It was great.
Oh, cool.
I have heard from, people that the audiobook, I should have waited for the audiobook because it's always better, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't listen to audiobooks. I really like reading.
Yes.
What's that?
Same.
Yeah. But, people I know who are real readers, they don't do it as a replacement. They do it as an addition. So they pick the ones where they think it's going to be read well, and they just have that in their car. So you get basically 2 books at one time. I don't know. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet.
Well, do you think yours is read well?
Mine is read well. Well, it is a comedian, right? So, and I know the material really well. Um, so yeah, so there's definitely, it's definitely read well, but I don't know. I like having a book, and this kind of a book, like essays. I'm a big fan of essays, and just to be able to pick it up and be able to just go through and pick one out. It's not like you have to sit and plow through it all the time. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe buy both.
Yeah. Well, why don't you give us the taste?
Why would I talk you out of it? Would you like to hear some more? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was great. Just a little more.
All right. I'll let you choose, okay?
Okay.
You can choose from a very funny nose, or you work too hard. You work too hard, a very funny nose, or the good old days that weren't.
I think a very funny nose.
Very funny nose. All right. We can do that. Do, 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 do. Page 39. Okay. I have these things in between. If you're a fan of Live from Here, I have these. I do this monologue called Out in America on Live from Here every week. And it's me shining a light on all the good people out in America. And this catchphrase kind of started, and it's kind of done in this format, in this cadence. So I break up my chapters with a book version of that. Have you ever gotten a text of a monkey in a birthday hat and realized it was actually a picture of you at a party last weekend? I have. So this is a very funny nose. Whenever you look at yourself in the mirror and you are horrified by how ugly you are, just remember that you're not alone. We are all funny looking. Every single misshapen, twisted, warped, crooked, spectacularly irregular one of us. When they say we're all unique snowflakes, that no two of us are alike, that's not because we're all perfectly beautiful. It's because we're flawed in the most hilarious ways. We've got funny eyes, curled lips, and weird hairlines. Chins that point out, chins that look like a baboon's ass. Some of us have no chin at all. Some of us were born without the parts that everyone else has. No eyebrows, no ass, and teeny weeny noses. How about the no lip people? They look like the rest of their head is in 3D with a pencil sketched mouth. Our ears are always a mess. Hairy ears, and ears that stick out on the side. Little ears bother me. They're not fun at all. I have a friend who has little ears with no lobe. It's like her ears are attached directly to her head and someone forgot to trim them. I love really big ears, especially on little kids. Big satellite dishes that look like they're trying to catch a signal from a distant planet. They always make me laugh. The best part is you can't hide big ears. All you can do is try and grow your hair long and develop a sense of humor. We've all got our thing, every single one of us, except, of course, that one exception, the only human being who has achieved divine perfection, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh.
If you think I'm joking, you're wrong. If you say anything bad about her, I'll punch you right in your cowardly face. But the rest of us are circus freaks. What a nice thing to know. Isn't it a relief? Think about how much time I've saved you in the morning. Now when you look in the mirror, the only thing that should go through your mind is, good enough. Even the people we see on the covers of magazines who seem to have a perfect face are funny looking. Not at the newsstand all airbrushed and smiley, but at home with the makeup off, they look just like you and me, like monkeys, trying their best to evolve. I'm funny looking in myriad ways. I have a head that really belongs on a porpoise, a lot of forehead, a little too much chin, and a bald spot that looks like a blowhole. Depending on what angle you catch me at, I have between 2 and 17 chins. And I have a patch of hair on my back. It's one patch on the left side in the shape of New York State and about the size of a Frisbee. It's been there since puberty. Actually, it started out as a birthmark when I was a child and eventually turned into hair. Try putting that on a dating profile. In college, my roommate named it as if it were a third student sleeping in our dorm room. He named it Sammy. I wrote a song about him. Sammy on my back, what you doing there with all that hair? Sammy. And then you repeat it a couple times. I also have a big nose. Well, not exactly a big nose, more a fat nose with nostrils that look more like two bat caves than something that belongs on someone's face. They're so big, I made a habit of seeing what I could fit up there. It became a bit of a parlor trick that I would perform for my friends and was always a big hit, until eventually I went too far. That's when I got a pachinko ball stuck up my nose. I was 12 when my father brought a pachinko machine at a flea market. Pachinko is a Japanese upright pinball machine. It's a very odd game where you pull a lever and a large ball bearing flies into action, ricochets off 1,000 tiny nails, and randomly either lands in a spot that awards you more points or fails. There is literally no skill involved, but it's very addicting in a slot machine kind of way. He brought it home and put it in the basement, and we played with it for hours, days, years. But as the game itself was kind of boring, we eventually started playing with the pachinko balls themselves. We'd gather them up from the back and throw them at each other, roll them around, and eventually I got the hilarious idea to stick one up my nose. This is all a true story.
No.
When I would perform one of those nose tricks, I wouldn't just stick it up there straight away. I wasn't an amateur. I learned how to build suspense from Evel Knievel, the great motorcycle daredevil. He never blasted off a jump the first time out. He was a master showman who knew how to expertly tease the audience. He'd adjust his helmet, climb on his bike, and work the crowd into a frenzy with every rev of his engine. Everyone would anticipate his jump as he raced down the ramp, and just when he should have been accelerating, he'd come to a sudden stop at the edge. The crowd would go crazy. He'd shake his head, turn the bike around, and head back to the start while the crowd lost its collective mind. Evel didn't give you what you wanted when you wanted it. This was his show on his terms. I was the Evel Knievel of nose tricks. I held the pachinko ball in my hand. Is it possible? Can it be done? The crowd, which consisted of my two friends, Keith and Dave, went crazy. The funny thing about kids, when they're watching their friend about to do something stupid, is the complete lack of concern for their well-being. Never in the history of childhood has there been a cautionary pal who tells you to slow down and reconsider what you're doing. Never. The response to any life-threatening endeavor, be it jumping out of a treehouse, flying your bike off a jump, or sticking a metal pachinko ball in your nasal cavity, is always the same. Do it. That's what they chanted as they clapped, danced, and threw themselves on the ground. Do it. Do it. I had worked them into a complete frenzy. I held the ball up one last time. They gasped. I posed. They fell silent. Slowly, I moved the ball towards the edge of my nostril and inhaled. The gigantic ball fired straight up my nose, way too fast, way too easily, and way too deep. This antique metal ball bearing, which had entertained Asian pinball fans for more than 50 years, was now in the upper reaches of my nasal cavity, entertaining my friends like never before. The crowd went nuts. I had a fleeting moment of victory, followed by a brief pause, and then panic. The room was silent. My friends leaned in. My eyes darted around. We hung there in space, trying to piece together what exactly was happening. And we all realized at the exact same moment that it was stuck. It wasn't coming out. I was in real trouble. Keith and Dave were laughing harder than they had in their entire lives. They were rolling on the ground, across the floor, and hitting each other with delight. I was caught in a slight two-step where I knew I should be running for help, but didn't know where to go. So instead, I just bounced from side to side. I dug my finger up. I felt the ball, but there was no room around the sides of it. It was wedged in tight, and my poking around had only pushed it up higher. I was scared, but my friends were so extremely happy that I started laughing. I couldn't help it. This was ridiculous. I had a pachinko ball stuck in my nose. The laughter calmed me down and enabled me to see more clearly. With my friends at my feet, I used my finger to close off the other nostril and with all my might tried to blow the pachinko ball out of my head. "What is he doing?" Keith cried. "Oh no," said Dave. At first it seemed hopeless. All I was doing was building up so much pressure that I was turning red. Keith was laughing so hard he couldn't speak. All he could do was point at me with tears of joy running down his face. I took a deep breath, tilted my head back, and pushed with all my might. I turned from red to purple, and then something squeaked like a pinch balloon, and the pachinko ball fired from my face like a bullet. It was more powerful than any BB gun I had ever fired. The ball shot out of my nose, across the room and off the wall, ricocheting around, turning the basement into a life-size pachinko machine. I was saved. Dave and Keith laughed for another 3 days. I was a hero. And none of this would have been possible if I hadn't embraced that big, fat nose of mine and celebrated myself. I became a legend on that day, all thanks to my very funny nose. So embrace your flaws, all of you. The girl with the ski slope nose, the man with the pineapple head and beady eyes, and you with the fish lips. Own it. Enjoy it. You're beautiful.
Oh my gosh. With my fish lips?
It's funny when I was saying it, I'm like, I don't think she has fish lips.
Wow. Oh, we've got.
It's a true story. Everything in that is true.
Wow. You are a legend still to this day, right?
Yes, we still talk about it.
Oh my. At least you got it up before your parents had to know.
I know. It's not a good thing to give a bunch of young boys as a box of pachinko balls.
Boy. So we've got quite a few questions. You want to take some?
Sure. Can you handle them?
Yeah. If, you can see them too. We can, you can
You read them.
Okay.
You have better eyes.
All right. So Natalie Huddleston is wondering, do you like to hang out with other comedians socially away from work?
Yes, very much so. They are great conversationalists. Comedians tend to have a reputation of being annoying and always on, and there are some of those, but most of them are really, really fun to be with. They're very funny. They're a little off, and they are great conversationalists. They know when to come in, when to go out. You have a group together. It's really, really fun and freeing. It's definitely freeing. The only problem is when you hang out with comedians and then you hang out with people who are not comedians, like my parents of my children's friends and things like that. And you have to kind of adjust. You're like, oh no, I can't say terrible things about this guy because they all think I'm serious.
Oh, to be a fly on the wall for those events.
Oh, they're really fun.
So Peter wants to know, do you think your germ chapter was a prophecy for the coronavirus?
Yeah, it kind of was. It's not like I'm a soothsayer. They always said that it was just it wasn't a matter of if, but when, one of those things. And so I don't want to give myself a lot of credit, but the timing of it is pretty insane that I was writing about it just as like the book came out today. So yeah, it is a little weird, but things like that always happen. There was like, you get a vibe of what's going on in the culture and you kind of like point things out. Like whenever I have stand-up specials come out, things like that happened. I'd written this whole thing about the trade centers that they had to take out of one of my specials right around that time that I had the joke earlier, and then before the special came out, 9/11 happened. So we had to like adjust it. So yeah, maybe I am a soothsayer.
Okay, Natalie wants to know, does your family get to veto you and say you can't tell this story about us in your work?
Oh, good question. No. No, they don't. If they express something, I'm not really sure. I have 2 teenage daughters.
Oh boy.
they act like they don't hear me. They act like they're not interested in the set, but then once in a while they'll let something out and it's like, oh, they must be watching. Um, I I only exaggerate. I don't tell true stories about them. The person who gets most offended is my father, of all people. He's like this, pretty big, tough guy. And for some reason he gets sensitive. He's like, why'd you tell that joke that I had stuff on my shirt when I was watching the Oscars? I'm like, why does that bother you? But I don't know why he's sensitive. But no, I try and be kind and try not to, say things that are too awful. Um, Once in a while I will, but those never get recorded.
That's probably for the better.
Yeah.
Your daughters, you're just dad, right? You're not a big star and comedian and guest
No.
on my
Right.
TV.
As much as I try and tell them.
Oh, they'll realize one day.
Yeah.
Okay, so interesting question from Robin. How did you become interested in sourdough bread making?
Oh, yeah. Um, I was writing on a TV show called Red Oaks on Amazon. It's a great show. And it was a very small little writer's room. We would just kind of meet on these retreats for like a week. And one of the writers, Max Werner, was there. And he, during one of our breaks, told me about baking sourdough bread and what a sourdough starter was and the whole science fiction of it. And I had no interest in it. I liked cooking, and I told my family about it at dinner. And for Christmas, my daughter got a sourdough starter started for me out of mixing flour and water and over the week, and then gave it to me on Christmas. And I always say that was my greatest acting role, was acting grateful when I opened up the present and it was this bowl of goo. But then I really got into it, and it's very addicting. It's really, it's very, I don't know what I mean. First of all, I've never had a hobby, but if you are going to get a hobby, it should be one that you can eat. There's something very satisfying about having homemade bread around all the time. And just how good it was, and the taste was great. It was better for everybody who was eating it. And I just kept getting better at it and kept going. And then it became this kind of this metaphor for being home, because I'm on the road a lot. And sourdough takes about 3 days of the process of making it, from the time you feed it to the time you actually get bread. So I started to just have even more fondness for it, because it meant that I was off the road for a while and I was home. If I had the days to write, I write in here, and then I go out and tend to the bread out there. And that routine of like the timing of it was just good. It would kind of fill the day. And yeah, obviously I could talk for hours about it.
Kind of leads
And
into Celia's question though, and she's wondering what your favorite thing to cook during quarantine is. Sourdough bread?
yeah, well, yeah, a lot of sourdough bread. And it's funny because, I'd been doing it for a long time, but now people ran out of yeast. So they were coming and asking questions like really like, and I had just posted on my YouTube channel how to bake sourdough bread, all these videos, because people always ask me how to do it. So I had all this content up there, and people started coming. And my Instagram and Facebook, it's just filled with people taking pictures of bread that they have made themselves, and they want tips, and they're saying thanks for the inspiration. So it's become this whole like subculture of my career. It's bizarre. And now I have this new podcast called Breaking Bread with Tom Papa, because I used to do a podcast just with comedians, hanging out with comics. And I was like, yeah, everybody kind of does that. And then I decided, well, some of the greatest conversations come when you host and you feed somebody. And if you ask somebody, who fed you when you were a child? Who was the cook in your family? And it just opens up all their history. And so now I have this new podcast, and Tom Segura, this is a very funny comedian. He's the first guest. He's on today. It just started today.
So is it out on iTunes today?
Yeah, everywhere. iTunes, Spotify, my website,
Awesome.
YouTube, wherever you get your Ask Alexa, getting Breaking Bread with Tom Papa.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So yes, I love bread.
Okay. Wow, there's quite a few here. Okay. So Kara wants to know when you recorded your audiobook and read it aloud, do you wish that there were any parts you could go back and edit?
Yes, yes. Not too bad. Not too bad. That's a great question. Yeah, because
Oh no.
the problem is you can always you can work
Is
on
he
this.
frozen or am I?
You're frozen. You are frozen, but your voice is not. Who's frozen? Can you guys hear me? Elizabeth raised her hand. That means you can hear me. Jamie's frozen. Jamie's frozen again. All right, we'll keep answering. All right, let's keep answering this while she realizes that she's frozen. Oh yeah, when I was reading the thing, here's the problem. Here's the problem. Anytime I pick up the book, I realize, oh, look who's back.
My apologies.
Okay, just started to answer it. Everybody was really good.
Gosh, it is that darn Healdsburg Wi-Fi. Ah,
You very supportive crew here.
I know. Thank goodness.
Yeah, so anytime I open it and look at it, I want to change, down to the word. Why did I repeat that word in that sentence in the same paragraph? It's all about editing and taking away and making it clear, more and more clear. You don't want to repeat things. So anytime you pick it up in a 300-page thing, you're going to find stuff that you want to change. Nothing like really big and meaningful, but smaller editing things. At that stage, it really comes down to word choices, repetition, things like that. And the worst is when you find mistakes that were not caught. That's the worst. I have one little phrase that's repeated in the book. I won't tell you, you'll have to find it. And I repeated it later. That killed me. And then there was something that was like, ID. I think it was ID and it was capitalized like id, something like that. There were like 3 mistakes in the book. And that drives you crazy. Like, oh, come on. How does nobody catch that? We all looked at it for all these months. So yeah, there's always little things, Nothing big though. Nothing like on a grand scale.
That's awesome. I mean, it's always, nothing's ever perfect. Nothing's ever done. So it's,
No, yeah.
up on it, right?
Yeah, they just have to take it away at a certain point.
Yeah. Okay, another interesting question. You might have to show us. Margot wants to know who is that painting behind you? It looks familiar.
Yeah, and then I'll ask you all a question. That's George Carlin.
Ah.
And right after he passed away, a young comedian had painted it and had it at the Comedy Magic Club in Hermosa Beach. And I remarked that I liked it. My wife tracked him down and got it from him.
Oh.
Now here's my question, and I hate to even ask it, but I do a lot of these Zoom things for my radio show and stuff like that. Is it distracting having it behind me? Do you think it's annoying?
I thought it was cool, and it seems like
Okay.
other people liked it as well. They wanted to know more.
No, it's way cool. No, it's amazing. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
All right, good. Because I don't want to, when you do these things, you finally get an angle that works, and then I see him behind me. But I always liked him because the thing I really like about the painting is that this is in my office, and he was very prolific. And I always feel like he's pointing at the door. Like, if you're not working, just go. Just go.
Yeah, Billy says we like the painting, and now I love it, knowing it's him. So that's
all right. Cool.
So what's next for you, Tom? What's next when all this quarantine stops? Are you going to go back on tour, or are you going?
Yeah, well, I do this Netflix radio show on Sirius XM on channel 93, and I do that 4 days a week with Fortune Feimster, who's a really funny comedian. And it's very cool. It's given me structure during this time, like that I actually have a job to do, which is great. Having any job during this is great. And then, and it gives me structure, and I'm able to talk to guests. We have comedians call in all the time. We had Seinfeld today.
Wow.
And Joe Russo of the Russo brothers, who made the Avenger movies.
Wow.
So that's been really great. But we're doing it from home. I'm doing it here. and Fortune's there, and we're not in the studio anymore. So when this is all over, it'd be nice to get back in the studio and see people face to face. That would be cool. Like, this is great, but I'll have to come up and see you sometime there,
Yeah,
because I think we've all learned that how much we really need all of that. So I'll do that. And then live performing is the kind of the big thing. It's, when am I going to inch back to that?
that's what I was really wondering. When can we see you?
Yeah, I'm going to be, I think that it's still on sale in San Francisco for the beginning of June, but I don't think that's going to happen. I wouldn't buy those tickets. You're going to end up in a refund hassle. I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't know why they haven't taken it down and you can still buy tickets. But I've got Portland in June. I have an offer to go to Salt Lake City in a couple weeks, which I probably would do at this point, but I don't know if my family will let me.
Well, I mean, I don't think it would be the same if you were wearing a mask.
No, I don't think I would be. Maybe they would be. The live performing, like the baby steps I can see that they're taking is in, say, a place that holds 300, there'd be 100 people there, and spread people out a little bit, keep the crowd experience down a little bit, have them spread out. But yeah, I mean, the way a lot of these places make money is through selling alcohol. So I don't know if you can have people in masks and do that. I don't know. Everyone's kind of figuring it out. But, I feel like all the conversations with all of this stuff, whether it's your career or your shop or kids going to school, we always end up with, I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. Even with the social distancing, just to be out would be nice.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, Christine wants to know, is Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me as much fun as it sounds?
It is. It's really, and you should see that show live. We did it in Sonoma. What was that outdoor? It's like an indoor outdoor theater there, Sonoma. I forget the name of it. Beautiful theater. But yeah, it's really fun. I always say it's kind of like a revival. There's something spiritual about it by the end of it. It just builds and builds. The music is so good, and the comedy hopefully is really good. I always feel like there should be more of that. But it's very moving, and it's very well thought out. Chris really plans out the arc of that show. It really is a ton of fun, and there's a lot of love around it. It came from Prairie Home Companion, and while that changed and they put it in the hands of a musician rather than a storyteller, there's still the spirit of that Prairie Home thing in that show. Chris and I were really big fans of it and really cherished it. And when he got to host it and then he brought me on, we really worked hard to capture that feeling, that kind of all accepting, a little folksy, nothing negative. And it still has that feeling for sure. And being there live I've never done the show live where at the end everybody wasn't just standing up, cheering, and floating out of the building.
Yeah, I think that's the Green Music Center, as people are letting me know.
Yeah, what a great place. Oh, I would love to just go do stand-up there one day.
Yeah, maybe soon.
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh, okay. Just so I was holding off on this question because it might mean something to you or it might just be random. But Peter wants to know, where does a dude who is self-admittedly afraid of squirrels, rats, and other small critters get the gumption to say that massages are for sissies? Does that mean anything to you?
Well, I have Massages Are for Sissies as one of the chapters about, I don't know where I get the gumption. Well, I do feel like a bit of a sissy when I am standing in a robe with a lemon water and slippers. I just always picture like my father, people from World War II just looking at me like, what are you doing? So yeah, but then I went in San Francisco, my friend Kira brought me to a Russian bathhouse.
Archimedes?
What is it?
Archimedes?
Yes.
That is one of my favorite places. Sorry.
Oh my God. Where they beat you with the sticks during
Yeah,
Beneke? Oh, such a great place. That's so funny.
that's
Yeah,
so
so
great.
I
Yeah.
wrote the whole essay is on that place.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So random.
Yeah.
Fun.
And I tell you, you go to a place like that, you realize all those other places where you feel like a sissy. Yeah, those are sissy places.
Yeah, definitely. But then they have the rooftop area where you can just lay.
Ooh, with your little hat on.
Anyway. Oh my goodness.
That's great. That's funny you've been there.
God, that's so random. It's out in such a, not the best neighborhood either. It's just,
No, and yeah, it was way out there. But she's Russian and she loves it, and it was like just brought me along, and then had to drive back into the city and do a show that night. I was a wreck.
oh boy. Okay. Well, it looks like people are kind of winding down with the questions.
Okay.
Wondering if there's any kind of last things you wanted to share with us. Links even to
Well,
see your YouTube channels and
yeah,
all.
you got all the good stuff.
Yeah.
One cool thing about the book is the people on the back are really hilarious. We've got, which you won't get in the audiobook, I guess, or maybe you would in the packaging. Anyway, Patton Oswalt, Joe Rogan, Matt Damon, and Whitney Cummings.
Oh,
They're all
all
funny people.
great.
I'll read you Matt Damon's. It's pretty funny. He says, "I like when Tom writes words and puts them in a row. It's much better than listening to him say random words. Buy this book." Really, really thoughtful.
Yeah.
But I am proud of it, and I think if it gives you a little relief and a little bit of a perspective during all of this, I think it's mission accomplished.
right. And the message is just so great. Be grateful and relax. We could all
Yeah,
use a lot more of
yeah.
that. Larry wants to say that they love your work. So
Well,
people
thank you very much. I appreciate
so
that.
happy to have seen you this evening. And we will record. This is recorded. We'll send it out. If you guys want to share it with your friends, family, anyone, it will come out in the email in probably 2 days. So be on the lookout for that.
Very cool.
Awesome, Tom. Well,
Thank you all very much. It was
yeah.
nice spending some time.
Yeah. Have a great evening.
All right.
Bye. Mwah.